And I will start by just addressing this discussion because I'm very, very glad that Neil Jordan is here today. And I'm sure that Neil and I have, a few differences on this and that. But actually, the problem with Nazi Germany and the rise and the success of Hitler and the tragedy that ensued, not with the death of Jews, but actually the first people who went into the concentration camp were trade unionists and were socialists. Those are the first people, the people who organised resistance, who ended up in the camps. And the tragedy was that the equivalent of the Labour Party and the equivalent of the Communist Party didn't unite. They always had they had a bigger majority at all times than the fascists. But they were divided by, let's say, previous history. So I want to go on to what I was actually going to say, really, which is, when we look at the international situation, which people referred to, Trump's attacks on migrants and on Gaza, Elon Musk declaring war, actually, on all public services, doing his Nazi salute, the rise of the AfD in Germany, the Meloni and the Brothers of Italy, who are connected to Mussolini in being the government in Italy, the rise of Marine Le Pen in France. This is a shocking and serious situation, but for us it's a real wake-up call, because we as an island are not immune from this, and the failure of sort of social democracy to deliver a better life, to end poverty, and years of repeated government scapegoating refugees, migrants and Muslims, right back to Enoch Powell, right back to Tony Blair talking about the war on terror, and the horror of Suella Braverman and her hate speech of Stop the Invasion, which was we saw directly in Portland when we were fighting the racism as a result of from that. We actually saw people with those placards, Stop the Invasion. It came straight from her mouth. Her vile Rwanda policy. But we fought that fight over the Booby Stockholm. And we trying to send a message to refugees who were, escaping war and persecution. And we sent that message that you are welcome here. And we were successful in doing that. And I think that is extremely hopeful. And it is sad. And I know that Neil, and also the person who's in the Labour Party from Stand Up to Racism, is equally horrified to see Yvette Cooper, the Labour Home Secretary, actually bragging about how on Monday immigration officers arrested thousands of people working in nail bars, car washes and restaurants. And the immigration enforcement, she said, is reaching new record levels. And I think we stand with people on the left of the Labour Party and in the trade unions and in the Palestine movement to say, it's not going to work. It's racist, it's not going to work. We know from our experience in Weymouth and Portland that if a government, and the Tory government, scapegoats migrants, all it does is strengthen the far right and legitimises racism. And I know this is what other people have talked about. Our job as anti-racists is to give what I would call the silent anti-racist majority the confidence to not be silent anymore. And we were able to do that in Weymouth and Portland. It was tough. At the bravery, particularly of some of the women on Portland, who actually are still threatened to this day, but they stood up, and the message they gave is that refugees are welcome here. And over the summer, we've seen it again, haven't we? And I think we should take our hat off to everybody, and it will be people in this room who actually stood up against Tommy Robinson. And locally, as people have said, both in Bournemouth, but we had a similar, seriously unpleasant encounter on the beach at Weymouth in August. we were able to mobilise together and push back Tommy Robinson and the far right. We're not under any illusions that that is permanent, but the last mobilisation, being 5,000 in London, was very, very important that we've done that. But people are right to say that the most pressing threat, well, you could argue, is certainly the growth of Farage and Reform UK. We went to protest. In fact, we were lucky to find out that Reform UK, which has incidentally has targeted South Dorset as a seat to win, because it is a marginal seat. They held a meeting in Weymouth last week of 80 people and a meeting in Swanage of 25, and we protested outside those meetings, saying Farage is a racist, Reform UK is a racist party. They're a party for the rich, and as we say, Farage, who has 8 jobs, has no interest in the people of Clacton or of Weymouth. He wants to destroy our public services. He wants to see the privatisation of our NHS. And as we've said, he wants to scapegoat refugees and blame them as the cause of our lack of public services. And again, TUC has done a very, very good short video of a few minutes in which they stop members of the public in Clacton and ask them what they think about having sick pay from day one, having legislation that gives you a right from day one at work, that gets rid of 0-hour contracts. People are all in favour of that, and then they hear that their local MP, Nigel Farage, voted against every single one of those things in Parliament. He is not, I repeat, he is not a man of the people, and we have to confidently say that. The BBC and the media has repeated the lies of Tommy Robinson and Farage about the grooming gangs being mainly Pakistani men. That information, that is not the case, that the majority of groomers are white men, is out there. This misinformation is appalling, and again, we need to take it up wherever we can, whether it's work, school, or in the pub, because it is blatant lies. And we need to remind people, actually, that when overseas students come to our universities to study, they make a positive contribution, not only to our economy, because let's face it, they're charging a lot of money, but also to our culture. And as a health worker of 40 years, I am proud to say migrants make our NHS, and they really do. And we should all say that. At Dorset County Hospital, 10% of our workforce are from Kerala. That's 370 workers. We have doctors from South Africa, from Egypt, from the Philippines, and from Nigeria. And they make a huge contribution to the life of Dorchester and South Dorset. And as people have said, we have to be part of giving hope to people. And Tommy Robinson and Farage are the politics of despair. And let's face it, there has been a lot of people to despair. There are things to despair about. But I think, certainly I have the confidence that we do not live in a society that is, at this point, won over to those ideas. And that's why the Summit of Resistance that has been called, in which we bring the forces of resistance together, the trade unionists, the anti-racists, the Palestine movement, the climate change activists, the students who bravely occupied their campuses against the genocide in Gaza, that we have so many fantastic people who can build that resistance to anyone, including this government, tragically, that refuses to tax the rich, that needs to stop escaping refugees, and also leaves our public services to rot. We can challenge this, and we can make a difference, and ultimately we can make change towards a fairer society. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, Lynn.